Good morning, folks. This is Deb Delapiana, and this is your Chain Reaction Report. This is part of our new YouTube channel. And today, we're going to talk about reproductive rights, because while I have incorporated this as part of a broader video on rights in general, I think it's important that we put this into perspective, because I have long been saying that it won't stop with abortion. And now there are indications that the powers that be who brought about this restrictive law in the state of Texas are also now looking at, let's hear it, contraception and in vitro fertilization. Now, both of my children were born through IVF. I have two girls, 20 and 24, both born through IVF with a sperm donor who wished to remain outside of the loop. In other words, did not want to be part of the family, didn't want to be known, and we didn't want the donor as part of the family. So it worked out fine. By the way, both of my children are not suffering gross mental disorders from not having a father in their home. They had access to plenty of guys. My brother-in-law, both of my brother-in-laws are around. They had a lot of male friends and a big extended family. So let's not miscategorize any of this bullshit. But my point is this. A lot of people around the 2017, 2018 time frame were talking about, oh, don't worry about Trump, don't worry about the Supreme Court, because, you know, this whole Roe v. Wade thing is just a distraction, blah, 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 blah. It isn't a distraction. It never was a distraction. The radical right, the GOP, has been after women's rights for a long time. All right, I can tell you that not only do the Christian groups that fund the GOP not like abortion, but they don't like, they also do not like birth control, because they live in the world of, the Bible tells us that women were here to just carry babies and procreate, keep the birth rates going. That's our role in life. That is our role as traditionally defined. Okay? Not by Jesus, by the way, but by mankind who got a hold of religion. And as Mark Twain said, religion was born when the first con man met the first fool. There's a difference between being spiritual and bowing down to man-made church entities. I do not do any of that shit. I do not give money to churches, because they basically use your money to pay off pedophile priests' lawsuits. Sorry, but don't let me digress here, because in the bigger spectrum of things, what happens in Texas is already starting to spread. There are now other GOP governors who are interested in now introducing similar legislation in their states, now that it's been successful in Texas. And the way this worked, and I've said this before, no appellate court has ever upheld an abortion bill that is this restrictive, but Texas was very creative in how they got around that. They basically have made the people of the United States bounty hunters. So anybody who knows that someone got an abortion outside the 6 weeks, by the way, the Texas law calls it a fetal heartbeat bill at 6 weeks. So you have 6 weeks, up to 6 weeks, to get an abortion. Most women do not even know they are pregnant at 6 weeks. Okay, that's restrictive enough. But now, The Texas legislature has created a system of bounty hunters among the people of this nation. So anyone who knows that somebody in Texas had an abortion after the 6 weeks time frame, they can file a lawsuit against that person. Your neighbor, if you talk to your neighbor thinking you're safe, your neighbor can then turn around and file a lawsuit against you in Texas, claim damages, and get up to $10,000 plus legal fees. That is how this is going to be enforced. So when the GOP talks to you about, being divisive, learning about black history is divisive, learning about slavery is divisive, I can't think of anything that is more divisive than pitting one citizen against each other in the name of God. I have said for a long time that the talking heads on social media who are saying that a woman's right to choose, women's reproductive rights are a distraction, are full of shit. And I'm going to continue to say that. Okay? When they were discussing abortion bills in Florida a few years ago, one of the state representatives referred to women as the host body. That's exactly what the GOP sees women as. End of story. Okay? He, of course, apologized for that. But you know what? That kind of shit means nothing. All right? Apologies, once the words are hanging in the air, they're never retracted. They can't be retracted. They're stuck right here. Okay? Apologies mean nothing to me. If you think that that was a slip of the tongue, it probably was, but it was a slip of the tongue to tell you the truth about exactly the way the GOP sees women. All right? Now, on the in vitro fertilization front, what they're really concerned about is what eggs that aren't used are used for. A lot of times it's medical research. A fertilized egg is not a viable life, no matter what the fuck they tell you. No matter what the fuck they tell you, it doesn't have a fucking heartbeat. Okay? But beyond that, if you think all they're going to do is stop the use of unused fertilized eggs, that's not what they're going to do. They're going to make it so that IVF can't be used. So women, men and women, heterosexual men and women who can't have babies have no access and no way to have that happen now. And certainly gay people who want children won't be able to use it. And I'm going to warn you again. I don't care that the Supreme Court has stayed out of the election fraud shit. That doesn't mean they're going to do the right thing on Roe v. Wade come the spring, after they've heard the Mississippi case in October of this year. As we have seen, they were asked to intervene in Texas and stood down. They allowed this repressive, regressive, rights-bashing, anti-abortion bill to pass in Texas. And, Roe v. Wade doesn't really need to be overturned for the effects of it to be felt everywhere in this country. Women need to start being proactive, not reactive. Now that the Texas law passed, it seems to have woken some people up. On October 2nd, there is a women's march. They're trying to spread this throughout the nation. Don't sit back in your fucking sofas, people, and wait for someone else to do this. You know what? If women don't care about this, no one else is going to care about this. And certainly, most men don't give a shit because it doesn't affect them directly. If it was Viagra, it might be a little bit different. Get involved, okay? We need to be on the streets, and I don't mean the way the Republican-led insurrection was. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is for people to understand that we're not going to tolerate a woman losing her reproductive rights and her right to choose her own medical care and to do what's right for her, not what's right for a bunch of fucking ideologues. This does not stop here. Returning the GOP to power in 2022 will be a disaster for this nation. They have already proved that. In just 4 years, Donald Trump has made a fucking mess of this country. This can no longer be denied. Wake up before it's too late. I will put some material in the body of this. I urge you all to read it. It will also include information on how women's reproductive rights were fought for and won in this country, and about a guy named Bill Baird who was from Massachusetts, who helped women get where they're going. The time is now to stand up, not after the deed is done. I'll talk to you all later.